Donald Trump was having the worst meltdown of his entire life last night, and throughout the day he was posting messages like this: keep calm and tariff on. Then he posted an image of himself looking like the penguin holding an umbrella, saying President Trump will always put America first, American prosperity first. Then he posted whatever the hell this is right here. I'm not even going to read it, but it's something about our country is the hottest and he loves tariffs and everything's so unfair and he just wants to whine all day. And then Donald Trump announced yesterday that he was going to impose new tariffs after the Supreme Court struck down his tariffs against the world. He's invoking Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. He's invoking it unlawfully to now impose 10% tariffs on every single country in the world after the Supreme Court struck down the tariffs he imposed under IEEPA. He says, well, I'm going to do another section. Well, Section 122 would also be invoked unlawfully. As Brian Riley explains, it only authorizes tariffs in the presence of a fundamental international payments problem. And because the United States doesn't face such a payments problems, it cannot be legally used to impose new tariffs. Yet another unlawful mechanism by Donald Trump. Also, Donald Trump tried to impose, or he did impose, a revocation of the de minimis tariff exemption. So any of the products that you buy that are $800 or less are not subject to tariffs, not anymore, because Donald Trump wants to impose a tariff regime on that. So this is the way Donald Trump is trying to get back at the Supreme Court for striking down his tariffs against the world by invoking Section 122 and removing the exemption for de minimis tariffs. Really? This is your response to everything? Oh, and by the way, that Section 122, 10% tariffs, even though it's also unlawful, it expires by law after 150 days as well. And so while Donald Trump's doing all of that, while he was humiliated by the Supreme Court for violating the law, he also directs his FCC chair, Brendan Carr, to demand that network television institute a Pledge America campaign. The FCC has launched a Pledge America campaign as we celebrate the country its 250th birthday. Broadcasters are well suited to air patriotic, pro-America programming in honor of the nation's historic milestone. The effort can emphasize programming that promotes civic education, national pride, and our shared history. And he wants broadcasters to start each broadcast with the Star Spangled Banner or the Pledge of Allegiance. He wants them to run segments that promote civic education, inspiring local stories in American history, and to air music by some of America's most celebrated composers and provide daily Today in America history. Can y'all just be freaking normal here for a moment? What are you doing? You realize that Americans are psychologically tortured living paycheck to paycheck if they're lucky enough to get a paycheck. Y'all are ripping away people's health care from them. People are just hoping they can make it past this next year or so without needing to go to a doctor visit. People are having zero educational opportunities. They can't afford homes. And this is the type of crap that you're doing. And then when people see a little bit of relief after the Supreme Court strikes down Donald Trump's tariffs against the world, he makes a social media post saying, as he posts photos of himself looking like the penguin from the Batman movie, he goes, "It's my great honor to have just signed from the Oval Office a global 10% tariff on all countries, which will be effective almost immediately." Why would you do that? Other than cruel and unusually trying to punish the people. No wonder the MeidasTouch network boycott of Donald Trump's State of the Union continues to grow. We now have over 20 senators and members of Congress who are joining. By the way, Aaron Parnas will be joining Katie Phang and Joy Reid as our hosts. Just take a look at the list here. This list is going to be growing as well. This boycott against the State of the Union will be massive. And it is such an honor at the MeidasTouch Network that we are the ones who will be hosting it with Move On, with all of you, the Meidas Mighty. By the way, do you see how close we are to 6 million subscribers here? Help us get to 6 million subscribers this weekend. You may think you're subscribed, but you may not actually be subscribed. So please subscribe now. Now, I don't even want to play a lot of these clips from that disastrous press conference that Donald Trump held yesterday after the Supreme Court struck down his tariffs under IEEPA against the world. But he did say, even though the economy is really bad right now, don't you worry, next year is going to be our year. Just wait until next year. This is what a Ponzi schemer says. This is Ponzi scheme 101. Remember last year, he said, wait this year. This year, he's going to say, wait next year. Then next year, he's going to say, wait next year. And then next year, he's going to go blame the Democrats or blame Biden or blame this one or blame that one. Yesterday, we had, in addition to Donald Trump saying he was now going to impose 10% tariffs against the world, we had horrible economic data. You know, the PCE, the core PCE and PCE inflation data, which really deals with the key inflation metrics impacting consumers, that rose to about 3% month over month. We're seeing the PCE climb. I think it's heading towards 4%, unfortunately, because the effect of Donald Trump's tariffs against the world are now being felt, and Donald Trump's disastrous economic policies are now being felt. The PCA came in hotter than expected. In addition, the GDP was significantly lower than expected. Remember how all the Trump regime officials were like, we think we'll be 5% GDP by fourth quarter. Remember Howard Lutnick's like, we own fourth quarter GDP. That's going to be our thing. And they were all like, yeah, it'll be 3.5%, 5%. What did Trump say recently? It may be 15% or something stupid like that. Well, it came in at about what, 1.4, 1.5, 1.4%, about half of what it was expected to do. And they want to blame it. Oh, well, that's just because the government shut down. That's really what happened. No, it's because y'all have slowed down the economy with Donald Trump's disastrous economic plans, and the rest of the world is actually seeing significant more growth than the United States is. So what was Donald Trump doing yesterday? You know, again, at that disastrous press conference, as I said, he said, you'll see the results a year from now. Right? Play that clip again.
That's because of tariffs. And we're going to keep it going the same way. And you're going to start to see the results in a year from now when all those factories start that are under construction right now. You see all the construction numbers are so good.
And then he said, I read paragraphs. I can read paragraphs very well. I'm a good reader. Here, play this clip right here.
I mean, I read the paragraphs. I read very well. Great comprehension. I read everything there is to read. And I said, we can't lose this case.
But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent wanted to remind everyone in this arrogant and smug Epstein class-like way. He's like, I don't think the people will see their tariff refunds. Ha 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 ha. Why would we give any tariff refunds? We're going to go to litigation and we're going to fight you all. Why would we refund the money we unlawfully stole from all of you? I kid you. I mean, he just sits there so arrogant. I mean, who the hell is this guy? For real, for real. Here, watch this right here. Play this clip.
Well, it's going to be a food fight going after $175 billion, isn't it? So
I got a feeling the American people won't see it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then in terms of Donald Trump continuing just to inflict cruel, unusual punishment, pain, and suffering on the American people, yesterday, of course, we reported how the Trump regime has now endorsed glyphosate, the pesticide that's in Roundup, which has been linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that RFK Jr. pretended to be against. Well, now the Trump regime wants to build in immunity for Bayer and others who use this pesticide that can be carcinogenic. And they sold the whole Maha movement on, oh, we're going to try to ban glyphosate. We're going to try to ban these pesticides. Well, not only are they not banning it, they're now promoting it. They're making it their pesticide of choice right now, as you've got pesticide lobbyists on the job. Well, then also yesterday as well, one of the things we learned is that the EPA is allowing coal-burning power plants to release more heavy metals like mercury, a powerful neurotoxin linked to brain damage, all into the air again. And they have a mascot in the Trump regime that promotes getting people cancer. I kid you not. They have a mascot named Coley, and Coley goes around giving people cancer. It's really, really despicable. And the despicable nature of this regime, the grift, the quid pro quos, all this crap, it's so flagrant and it's so in plain view. Like, remember when the Trump regime, what was this, 3 weeks ago at this point, it all blends in. Remember when they were vociferously against the new bridge from Detroit to Windsor, the Gordie Howe Bridge? They're like, we're against this. Trump's like, we're going to shut down this other bridge that Canada paid for itself. Remember, Canada funded the full bridge from Detroit and Windsor, Ontario. There's another bridge nearby called the Ambassador Bridge, which is owned by Matthew Moron, the Moron family. The only bridge that goes from Detroit to Windsor, from the United States basically to Ontario, is a private bridge before this Gordie Howe Bridge that was funded by Canada and the United States. And that brought a ton of jobs. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump came out against this new bridge. And it turns out, though, that the owner of the Ambassador Bridge, again, a bridge owned by a private company, had just days before donated $1 million to a super PAC devoted to Donald Trump. So $1 million devoted to Trump. Then Trump comes out against the competitive bridge, which, by the way, was owned in concert by Canada and Michigan, creating lots of Michigan jobs. But Donald Trump came out against that. Just again tells you what the Trump regime's priorities are. We reported on this earlier yesterday, but it bears repeating again just what a bunch of sickos this Trump regime cabinet is. So Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer's husband is being criminally investigated for sexual assault allegations inside the Department of Labor office. And Lori Chavez DeRemer's office have been searched by the police in connection with a sexual assault investigation there. Right at the same time, you have Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski, who are rumored to be having an affair with each other, gallivanting around and flying around in this Boeing private jet on the taxpayer dime that they now want taxpayers to fully fund. It has a nice queen-size bed, several flat-screen TVs. So as they go around terrorizing and torturing we, the people, the good news for them is that they've got a bed, they've got showers, they could shower together, they've got a queen-size bed, they could watch a movie, they could have movie nights, while their ICE and Border Patrol masked Gestapo are killing people across the country. Then you got people over here like Kevin O'Leary, who was trying to sell out Canada in the early days of the Trump regime and probably still is. Here he is talking about how for the oligarchs, it's a bad day for them because now people want tariff refunds. He says, I'm getting squeezed. He says, they're squeezing me. Stop squeezing me, he says. Stop squeezing you. Oh, play the clip right there.
Great to see you. So this has got to be a pretty big day in your world. What has the reaction been?
It's not a great day for me. We were humming along nicely until this morning. Here's what's happening on the ground. I know you've been talking about the politics and the policy, but let's talk about a business making $100 million in sales. It might have paid out $5 million in the last 14 months on these tariffs. And they're in my portfolio. I got phone calls from our customers, from our lenders because we borrowed against our line of credit, and from our shareholders that we reduced distributions on during this period waiting to settle on the tariffs. They all want their money back. Now, to be compliant, what am I supposed to do? I don't even know how this is going to get filed. It's going to be with Treasury, not the IRS, I assume. I'm going to try and get a meeting with staffers, best of staffers, when I get to the State of the Union next week to see if they can give me some guidance, because my head's getting squeezed from the top and the bottom to be compliant. And every business in America is going through this right now. There are people that want their money back within the distribution, shareholder, and lender system. And for me, and I'm telling you right now, you're the first to hear it, I'm setting up a resource called wondertrust.com, hiring, if not hundreds, thousands of accountants and lawyers, because I don't know how else to be compliant. And I'm going to use them with my companies. What else are we supposed to do? Because everybody wants their money back. And I don't know what the policy is going to be on that. It's not a great afternoon for me, to be honest with you.
Well, there you have it, folks. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers, and thanks for everything.
New Meidas merch. Head to store.meidastouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.meidastouch.com.